off-living to him. But to people who like seafood, the Maine lobster is a mouth-watering delight.
Ever wondered what it took to dine like America's elites of the 70s? Here is a hint. Some of the foods we'll list here cost more than your monthly rent. From high-end caviar to extravagant lobsters, we count down the 10 most expensive foods in America during the 1970s. So grab a snack, get comfy, and dig into this delicious history. Let's begin. Number 1. Lobster, the king of the seafood scene. Imagine a crustacean making his way from being a poor man's food in the early 1900s to one of the priciest items on high-end menus. Well, our first extravagant food on this list is the lobster. Historically, lobsters were considered a poor man's food, often served to prisoners or used as fertilizers. But by the 70s, they had made a grand comeback, gaining a reputation as a must-have at elite gatherings and fancy restaurants. They were often served with drawn butter or in rich dishes like lobster thermidor. The price tag was around $30 for a lobster dinner. Lobsters were extremely lavish and expensive. But why? Well, the answer is that they are tricky to catch, and they should be kept alive till you cook them, because they taste best when they are served fresh, and of course, gives them their luxurious red color. This made the shipping as well as the storage quite costly. In the 1970s, they got a high demand in weddings, galas, and high-profile events. The event's main course was cracking open a lobster at the table. Yes, that was the whole experience. So the limited supply and rising demand led to the skyrocketing prices. So next time, if you were having a red lobster shrimp special or seafood boil, remember that it was once just reserved for the elites only. You were living a high-class life. Number 2. Caviar, the ultimate indulgence. Would you like to eat salted fish eggs and pay hundreds of dollars for that? Well, caviar was the ultimate symbol of wealth and sophistication. It has always been associated with luxury dining, but in the 1970s, it reached new heights of popularity. Caviar was often served at elite gatherings and events, which added an air of elegance. This delicacy is made from the salted eggs of sturgeon, a fish that swims in the cold waters of the Caspian and Black Seas. The process of harvesting caviar is labor-intensive and requires a delicate touch because the sturgeon itself is a rare fish. That is why it comes with a hefty price tag of $100 or more per small tin. It is usually enjoyed with small pancakes known as blinis or with creme fraiche. Caviar has an extremely rich flavor, so either of these items complements that perfectly. The smooth, briny texture and the pop of each egg made caviar a sensory experience. Just imagine a luxuriant, alluring fancy cocktail party where guests are served tiny spoonfuls of caviar, paired with champagne or blinis. Now that's what we call elite luxury dining, where opulence and flavor collide. Number 3. Wagyu beef, next level steak. Coming in strong on our list is Wagyu beef, pure decadence on a plate. This next level steak became a sensation in the US during the 1970s. It made headlines with this extremely luxurious marbling and melt-in-your-mouth buttery texture, captivating the palates of food enthusiasts and high-end diners alike. Wagyu beef comes from specific breeds of cattle like Karaoke Washu that are often raised in Japan. More specifically, the Japanese black breed. The price tag? A whopping $100 per pound back then. And if you ordered Kobe beef, a specific type of Wagyu, you weren't just eating steak, you were eating bragging rights. The cattle are raised under strict conditions, which often include special diets featuring grains, grasses, and even beer to enhance flavor and tenderness. Due to this, the meat's flavor and profile are enhanced and become more tender. Some of these cattle often enjoy massages from the farmers. This special treatment and care lead to the enchanting buttery taste of their meat. Back then, the best way to enjoy Wagyu was by grilling it to perfection and then serving it as it is. This enhanced the luscious flavor and made it shine. Enjoying Wagyu at a fancy elite restaurant was surely an experience. And let's be real, thinking about it right now makes our mouths water. Can you smell that sizzling steak? Pair it with a glass of red wine, and you've got yourself a perfect meal. Number 4. Black truffles, Earth's hidden diamonds. Also known as the diamonds of the kitchen, truffles are rare edible subterranean fungi. True truffles are in the genus Tuber, order Pisisalis, phylum Ascomycota, and are native mainly to temperate regions. The different species range in size from as small as a pea to the size of an orange. They are rare, luxurious, and elite, especially the black ones. They took the gourmet scene by storm in the 1970s. Price tags range from a whopping $200 to $400 per pound. But what made them so pricey? It is all about scarcity. The more scarce a thing is, the more pricey it is. Truffle farming is difficult to the unique growth conditions. They flourish in open forest with calcareous soil or chalky and calcium-rich, forming mutually beneficial interactions with tree roots. To produce truffles, prepare the ground and sow acorns or seedlings. Soil from existing truffle regions may be distributed, and minimal plowing is used to maintain the ground. After 3 years, the trees are cut, and the soil surrounding appropriate trees is occasionally injected with truffle spores. Truffles usually develop after approximately 5 years, but considerable harvests are not expected for another 8 to 10 years, peaking between 5 and 25 years following planting. But that's not all. Because truffles often occur at depths down to about 12 inches, they are extremely hard to detect without any help. When they occur near the ground surface, they mostly crack. This is why only experienced gatherers can detect them. Furthermore, mostly during the morning and evening, small yellow flies are often seen hovering over a colony of truffle, mostly in columns. This helps out with detecting truffles easily. Along with that, people with a sufficiently sensitive sense of smell can also locate them. Trained animals are used, like dogs or pigs, who sniff them out. Overall, this makes truffle harvesting among the most difficult jobs. In the 1970s, most of the black truffles came from European regions like France and Italy. There, they were hand-picked and exported to U.S. restaurants. They were mostly served by the chefs by shaving them over pasta, eggs, or risotto. These little earthlings added an extra aroma that elevated simple dishes to gourmet status. Number 5. Chateaubriand steak, a cut above. This exquisite steak, rooted in French cuisine, isn't just another slab of meat. It's a culinary experience. It became an exclusive high-end fancy go-to choice for elite dinners in the 70s. It is named after 19th century French diplomat François-René de Chateaubriand. It symbolizes elegance and exclusivity. But this steak isn't just about the name. It is all about the way it is prepared and from which cut. Traditionally, this tender, juicy steak comes from the tenderloin, which is the most delicate part of a cow. The steak is cut into a thick slice and often weighs a pound or more. Then it is grilled or seared as it is, to a perfect medium rare to maintain its tender, buttery texture. As tenderloin is extremely tender and the softest part of the beef, it requires special skills to process it into an exquisite steak, often served with a rich béarnaise sauce, along with some roasted vegetables or potatoes. Imagine spending hundreds of dollars for a steak and adjusting that for inflation. It is a mind-blowing amount these days. But in the 1970s, Chateaubriand was the ultimate luxury dish, and ordering one marked a person's status. As they say, a steak so fancy, it came with its own name. Number 6. Oysters Rockefeller, glamorous shellfish. This dish was the epitome of luxury, featuring oysters on the half shell topped with a rich green sauce. It was named after the famous titan of the oil industry, John Davison Rockefeller, a man noted for his immense wealth and influence. The green sauce, made with butter and fine liqueur, evoked the opulence and prosperity associated with the Rockefeller family. Oysters Rockefeller is made by topping fresh oysters with a mixture of butter, herbs, and breadcrumbs before baking them to perfection. The finely chopped spinach, parsley, and sometimes there was a hint of anise from absinthe or pernod were the main ingredients of this exquisite dish. After everything is neatly arranged, bake the oysters until brown and bubbling. The oyster saline flavor is beautifully balanced by the richness of this flavorful topping. Even after decades, Oysters Rockefeller remains an emblem of gastronomic grandeur. Whether served as an appetizer or a main meal, this dish never fails to wow diners with its rich taste and exquisite presentation. It would not be incorrect to describe it as a timeless delicacy. Number 7. Baked Alaska, a dessert fit for royalty. Have you ever heard of a dessert so cool and magical that it is both frozen and on fire? Well, that's the sorcery with which Baked Alaska is made. This is the showstopper treat that was a symbol of elite sophistication in the 1970s. It was famous for stealing the spotlight at fancy dinners and high-end restaurants. A true culinary paradox. It combines the opposites, exactly like the physics law. Same repels, opposites attract. It combines a core of cold ice cream sitting on a sponge cake base, all wrapped in a fluffy layer of meringue. It is then placed under a broiler, or mostly lit by a torch, which creates a warm exterior, chewy and soft as marshmallows. But don't forget that the inside is still cold and chilly because of the ice cream. Its origins are traced back to the 19th century, but it hits its peak of popularity in the 1970s, when restaurants used it to allure their dinners. The flaming presentation added a magical and rather dramatic flair to birthdays, anniversaries, and fancy banquets. Let me tell you a fun fact. Baked Alaska got its name from the territory of Alaska, inspired by its icy core and fiery meringue shell, because really, what's dessert if it's not on fire? Number 8. Dover sole, the fancy fish. Alright, let's talk fish, but not just any fish. We're talking Dover sole, the most exclusive catch in the 70s dining scene. Sought after for its delicate flavor and exquisite texture, this flatfish quickly became the crown jewel of America's high-end restaurants. But the question is, what makes it so special? Well, the answer lies in the taste and texture of this fish. Dover sole is mild and buttery in taste, and it has a firm and flaky texture. It is perfect for high-end restaurants and impress those with a fat wallet. The cooking procedure is what made it pricey and elegant, not just the flavor. Classic dishes like sole meunière were the norm, which were made by pan-frying fish in butter and lemon and sprinkling parsley as a final touch. Then it will be served by the waiter on the table side, filleting the fish right in front of you, like a show. But here's the fun part. As we know, Dover sole wasn't even native to U.S. waters. It had to be imported from the North Sea near Europe. Due to the shipment and packaging, it was priced at a premium. And then when it was harder to import things, having Dover sole on your plate was as if you were announcing to the world, I've made it. Number 9. Vintage champagne, Dom Perignon, pop the bubbly. You must have seen in the movies how they open an extravagant bottle of champagne to celebrate their victory or a momentous occasion. Let's raise a glass to vintage champagne, the sparkling wine that has become synonymous with luxurious celebration. The sparkling treat was more than simply a drink. It enhanced every event. Champagne was a must-have at weddings, birthday parties, and other social gatherings in the 1970s. It cost hundreds of dollars and was only available to the most affluent members of society. Not everyone had access. Vintage bottles like Dom Perignon weren't your normal bubbly vintage champagne. It was a bottle of exclusive champagne. Dom Perignon was named after the 17th century monk who supposedly invented champagne, which was already synonymous with luxury. It was made from the finest grapes in France's Champagne region. It was made in exceptional years, and every bottle reflects the unique character of that year's harvest. The packaging of this champagne also reflected elegance and luxury. It was wrapped up in gold foil, with elegant labels and sometimes even wooden crates. The champagne evaded richness and sophistication whether it was tasted directly from the bottle or tastefully poured into the glass. Years of age are necessary to generate nuanced taste and that distinctive effervescence, making each bottle a work of love. The people of the 1970s were celebrating in style, not simply sipping champagne. Ordinary experiences become remarkable memories with this champagne. Number 10. Pâté de foie gras, French elegance. The pinnacle of French sophistication and culinary talent is pâté de foie gras. The term fat liver or foie gras refers to the liver of ducks or geese that have been specifically fattened via a technique called gavage. The birds are fed a diet rich in starch, usually maize, as part of this traditional procedure. Farmers in ancient Egypt started this technique after learning that ducks naturally acquired fatty livers before migration. A rich, buttery liver is produced by this diet. France's culinary and cultural traditions are deeply ingrained in foie gras. A French dish, it has cultural significance. For millennia, people have generally relished it at festive occasions and festivals. It hit high-end restaurants as a staple all around the U.S. in the 1970s. Once the liver is harvested, it is cleaned thoroughly, and then the liver is gently cooked by using wine or cognac. This method created a smooth, velvety pâté, as it has a rich, buttery texture with a delicate, savory flavor. It is often blended with sweet elements like fig-en or brioche. It was typically served cold, accompanied by bread, crackers, or even champagne, because what's luxury without some bubbly? It's creamy, rich, and controversial, but back then, no one was asking questions. They were too busy eating. While foie gras has faced criticism over ethical concerns regarding its production, its allure remains undeniable. For many food lovers, indulging in pâté de foie gras is about savoring a piece of culinary history and enjoying the sophisticated flavors that come with it. The 1970s were truly a remarkable era for extravagant dining, featuring luxurious foods like lobsters, truffles, and champagne. These delicacies remain costly today, reflecting the decade's opulent culinary trends. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more insights into vintage food and lifestyle trends. Let us know in the comments which extravagant dish you'd love to try.